Something I think everyone needs is motivation, which is why I'm putting back on my Mr. Beast cosplay. Okay, listen here, okay? I'm gonna say Mr. Beast every single time here, but let's just pretend, because I really see BA doing everything again. Let's please just pretend I say mid beast, okay? It's just mid beast, Mr. Beast, you know? Let's just leave it to like a pronunciation issue, okay? So yeah, every time you hear Mr. Beast, your brain needs to think mid beast. That is all. Thank you. And we will be spectating someone for 2 games today, and I'll go over everything, and we will try and find the habits and the things to do for success. Because currently, as some people might know, and some people might not know, is that Twitch Jungle in general is not doing too hot. And the question people have is Twitch Jungle even viable at the moment? How do you play it? Etc. etc. So we're first gonna look at something here which is very funny and interesting. And we're gonna look at the tier list here, okay? And when you first look here, you look at the win rates, and you sort by the lowest win rate in all roles. So this will show any champion in any role, right? And as you can see, currently Misfortune Support is the worst win rate champion in the entire game. Like when it comes to a champion playing a certain role, Misfortune Support is currently the lowest win rate. But something that's not shown here, which is shown last, is that Twitch is actually even worse. But the reason he's not showing now in this season is because he's not played enough, or there's not enough games, or he's not even validated as a jungler anymore. Which again leads to the question, is Twitch jungle even viable? And that's what we're going to find out today, and how to have success with it if you do find it to be good or not. Which is why we'll be spectating Kaizen again on his master account. He's currently 500 LP with 70% rate in preseason on Twitch jungle. And we're going to go over 2 games from him here today and see if we can learn something, understand something, or anything at all. So before I say anything more, let's get to the fucking rift. Boom. And here we are. With the Wackaflcka, Mr. Beast cosplay, and everything in order, we are now starting the game. And first, I just want to cover some of the things that you guys will probably ask the most is, what runes does he go, or what runes do you go on Twitch jungle? And the question or answer to that is that he goes to lethal tempo almost all the time. He tends to take cut down because people tend to have more HP than him, since he goes for the crit build most of the time. However, I will also show the runes on the page or screen right now with some editing magic. Boom, like that. Nice, nice, nice. So yeah, let's get started here. I do think that all of the Pokemons that you can pick in the start are viable. Although I do like the blue one very much, and I think you should definitely try the blue one. He's going for the red one here, which I think is kind of weak, in my opinion. I haven't played with it that much, but it does have some potential, as I can see. But the blue one is really nice. Moving speed is obviously very underrated. The green one, if you go 98 attack, can be very fun too. But other than that, it is kind of up to you to try. But at the moment, I would recommend either the blue one or maybe the green one. I don't think the red one is very strong at all, but maybe my opinion will change here. We will see. And that's the reason why we're doing this, yeah. We want to learn, look, see what happens, and see what we can take from it. And again, we want to look here and try and understand to see what's happening, if we can learn something, or what he does in general. Like throughout both of the games we're going to watch here, we will find some patterns in what he does for success. And the first thing we saw here is that he lost his red. Something I think could have been circumvented or prevented here, if he would have done the ward and stacked, which is something I like to do. But it does take a lot of effort, and from what I've seen before, he doesn't like to do that very much. You will get invaded very, very often on Twitch, especially in lower elos. But when someone sees they have like 70-90% rate, they won't usually invade you, actually, for some reason. But if you have like 50% rate, they will invade you very, very often. So just something I wanted to say there. So that's important to stack. Again, we see the straight to top gank here, something I'm a very big fan of. Although nothing happens from it. It's definitely worth trying, because it's such a small investment of time, but it can have such a huge outcome or benefit towards you and how the game will go for the rest of the game because of that one early kill. since Twitch jungle is very, very slow in the start. Any gold lead that you can possibly get is worth it. And also since your jungle clear is very, very slow as well. It is definitely worth trying. But yeah, no lost success there in the early game. Lost the red. Attempted some top ganks. Didn't really work out. But still, not too bad. Now he gets invaded. So, I mean, for, like right now, I would be really tilted, right? This like as unfortunate as you can be. And this is something that will happen to you. But I have videos on this and I touch upon these topics here on how to prevent this from happening. Although it's not always a guarantee. It does happen to me too. But there are things you can obviously do to not at least fall too far behind. Right. And he made some good decisions too. He pulled off the red. He didn't attempt to fight. Probably would have gone bad. And that would have been even worse, right? So the fact that he hasn't died yet still has some, but leaves him with some room to get into the game again because he's not too far behind, right? I mean, Wukong is 20 CS up, which is kind of bad, but it's not the worst. You are going to be very far behind in CS on Twitch jungle early game in comparison to most junglers, just because of how slow your clear is. So it is inevitable that you're going to be behind, but being this far behind isn't really that common. And something you see with like Elise jungle at the moment, right? She's very strong. And she's like a gank-focused jungler that doesn't tend to farm very much. And she's having a lot of success at the moment. Which goes to show that like even if you don't get some kills early game on Twitch or you don't get the farm, then at least the ganking potential you have and the ways you can influence other lanes in the meantime while you're quite weak still can have a huge impact on the game, right? So looking for ganks early game is not going to have a lot of downsides, but it will have a lot of potential upsides, right? So you can spend like the first few minutes trying to gank. Like he's level 3 now, top lane, like Riven's level 5, right? Like eventually you can't do this anymore because you will be just too far behind. Like imagine Riven's level 6 now, Twitch level 3. Then Riven will just basically one-shot him, right? But like throughout the face of like laners being level 4, level 3, and you're level 2 or level 3, you still can have some impact. Of course. But it is important to not fall too far behind and be too focused on like trying to gank someone, because eventually you will try and gank someone and then find yourself being 10 levels behind, right? That's not very good for obvious reasons. And another thing I just want to say here is I do coaching, and if you guys are interested, then feel free to contact me and we can set something up. But one thing I dislike about people that wants to get coached is that they buy a coaching session from someone and only get one game. I think you get very little value, which is why I do my coaching a bit differently. And it is something you will see here too. Because time and time again, people will have like one game where they lost and they were like, why didn't I win this one? And sure, you can get the answer to why I didn't win that one, but I think it's much more important to find the habits and the patterns that you have and then try and improve upon those, right? Which is why I think having several games in a coaching session is good, because it will leave more room to find the potential bad habits that you have. And then be able to correct them, and in turn that will help you climb, right? Default tempo is stacked. And everything is good. And I also think that it's much better to gank bot lane now, since they are generally weaker than they were before, since they gain levels slower too. So in terms of like being a weak jungler that isn't really able to farm them much, like being able to gank bot lane is a very big bonus for someone like Twitch. Because as you can see, Twitch had a really bad early game here, but he's still like equal level to the bot lane, right? But if you were to try and gank top lane now as an example, Riven would be level 7, and that's a no-go, right? Same with mid lane, Kassadin being level 7. Even though Kassadin isn't like the strongest early game champion, he is still a bit stronger than he was before. Previously. And it's definitely not someone you could really touch at the moment either, with Twitch being the level that he is right now, or before. Once he gets level 6, he will get the ultimate spike, which obviously gives him more AD, which is a huge benefit when it comes to ganking people. Oh. Yeah, definitely very focused on the early ganks here. From KO is on. And now that he's getting his Noon Quiver, I think we're going to be seeing a bit more farming from his side. And at least catching up to level 6, which he got now. But just due to the fact of how unlucky he got in the early game, I think that's been one of the reasons as to why he was so gank-oriented. Because he didn't really get any kills or anything at all in the start. And he didn't really have the option of farming either because he's so weak. So I'm curious to see now when we do the next game if we'll be seeing the same thing again. And something you see here, he's stealthing for the blue buff. I think it can be a good idea to throw a W there. Like, he's not even using it now in the camp, right? And mana's not really an issue because you generate a lot of mana in the jungle with the jungle item. So throwing a W like that, yeah, really good. Right, that's what I'm talking about. That's the shit I like to see. That's really nice. That's good. That's what you guys should be doing too. When you're entering new side to the jungle, place you haven't been, like say he's going to his red side now, and you're going for the mid tower, throwing the W into the bottom bush here can also be worth it. Anything that can kind of help you not die is something you want to do, right? So investing in a pink ward early game to put in your jungle somewhere. And just generally being very cautious when you're entering places that you haven't been or you don't have vision of. And something I haven't really touched upon this game here is the comp. I would say that the comp he's playing against right now is a very tough comp for Twitch to beat. Wukong in particular is very annoying. Riven is very difficult to deal with as well, given her high mobility. And Kassadin too is a very big threat if he manages to scale and get a couple of items. Then without any resist or defense towards magic, then Kassadin will annihilate you very, very quickly. As well as Caitlyn is quite annoying to deal with too, with her Nat. And Karma too is a bit obnoxious, but I would say Caitlyn and Karma are the least annoying champions on the team. And then I would place Wukong at the top and Riven second with Kassadin in the middle, depending on how fed he gets. But Kassadin is very, very hard to deal with eventually, or like later into the game, as he gets items and levels. Get a little bit of a mastery flex here. That's what we like to see. Dragon is obviously very worth it too. Even if you don't really need it, just the time that you save from the inevitable soul is very good, because it leaves you room to scale. Because you get an additional 5 minutes before you really have to start clenching your butt, right? So any dragons you can secure early game is very good. Again, especially on a champion like Twitch, where you don't want to fall behind and you kind of want to scale a little bit. You want to buy yourself as much time as possible. So if you're able to get dragons, then do it. If you can't, then don't, right? Also, Merry belated Christmas and soon Happy New Year. I hope you guys are doing good. If you have been doing good or how your Christmas been, please tell me in the comments and I'll read and reply to everything, as I always do. It was my birthday recently too, so yeah. We're like all celebrating and chilling at the moment. And hopefully as the new season comes, then we can celebrate a bit more with success of Twitch Jungle. Get a little tickle there. Unfortunate. Yeah, please tell me how you been. How's your Christmas been? How's your New Year been if you're watching this a bit later? I hope everything's been good. And if you do like this kind of content, then let me know of that as well. Obviously, I would want to know what I can do better. I'm already aware of my problem with speaking and pronunciation issues. But hopefully that's something we can fix together. And eventually we'll be reigning the throne and kicking midbeast off the #1. And be the reigning champion of game replays. I had mixed feelings on that one. I actually thought he would die. But Rakan played that really well. So props to Rakan. Yeah, you can definitely see like what threat casting can be, right? Like once it gets level 11, gets like one more item. You saw how hard he was to deal with now, right? So Leia is going to be an even bigger issue. So I think we'll be seeing K-Zone doing some more AFK farming now. Potentially catching up a bit more in levels. We can see he's equal to Wukong. I think Wukong's been playing bad this game, but I obviously haven't been spectating him, but I think he could have done more with his lead. Bot lane is actually pretty hard for him to deal with though, because he's more of an engaged champion, and Rakan is really good at disengaging with his W ultimate. I think Rakan is very underrated. It's a very good champion. And especially paired with Twitch. It actually used to be like one of the more known combos of Twitch, like Twitch Rakan. Then you obviously have like Tarek Twitch, which is even more unknown, but it's definitely good. And you have your standard ones like Yumi, Lulu, right? But Rakan is definitely not a sleeper to pick, like sleep on. It's definitely very good with Twitch. Especially because of the engage, right? You can walk up in stealth, Rakan can dash you, then W the enemy, you go in, you press the ultimate, they ulti, and you just gather everyone up and they just get melted. It has a lot of potential. And it's maybe something we're going to see now. Very nice. Now he's dead. I'm trying to think what would go here. I think Bork is definitely good. I think he goes cracking Bork all the time. And something I also want to say is that Bork is even better now. Especially because into tanks. Since Lord Dominic's got buffed now, it is actually crazy good. The 25% additional damage into tanks. I do think that's given some more improvement towards the season in general. Buffing that for ADCs. Making us more viable in the sense of being able to kill tanks and actually dealing some meaningful damage. I think that's been a very, very good buff. And I hope to see some more improvements towards ADC. As with the LDR. I mean, there are so many problems, right? Like, you have so many mobile champions, and then you have some that are very mobile. And, like, they all, like, clash and work or cooperate so differently. It's very hard to balance, but I would definitely like to see some buffs to the more immobile ADCs, right? But then again, like you have someone like Seria, which is very coin flip, but if they pop off, then they're very hard to deal with, right? And if you buff their items, then obviously all the other champions are going to get buffed too. I'm not sure what changes I would like to see. But I do know that I want to see some. However, the question is, will we actually see some Twitch buffs? Which I'm not actually sure. Twitch is actually like really good at the moment, but it's mostly because of his flexibility of being able to go both AD and AP, which I do think kind of buffs his win rate by a bit. Having that like very similar like IM station, but also having like such a wide variety of like choices and items and everything. It gives you like so much room to what is it called? It gives you so much room to like adapt to the game and like have like a slight edge somehow, right? Like say playing is like Hecarim and you got AP, you can slow them, you'll basically nullify most of the damage, right? In the sense of like slowing them down, preventing the passive from working or connecting. Or you're playing against like against full assassin, you go AP with the Sonya's Hourglass. Or you're playing against like very mobile tanks and stuff, and you just go like full damage with the AD. You just have so much adaptability, which I think is like kind of oof. Which I think is inflating Twitch's win rate a bit. So I would like to see some changes, but I'm not sure what I would like to see. I do think some kind of slow or something on his ultimate could be interesting. Given how clunky the rest of his abilities are. His W and his E is actually a bit clunky. So I would like to see some changes to that. I would really like to see a quality of life change in Twitch's W, where if you throw out like outside of the range, it will just throw a max range. I think that would be like a small buff to Twitch. But not very like, how do you call it? Not like a very unbalanced change, but I think it would be a very nice change for Twitch. Being able to throw your W max range and then just have it thrown. Like instead of just walking. Like a lot of champions have had that. I think Syndra had it recently. And some other champions. But that's definitely one I would like to see. As for the ultimate missing, I'm fine with that. Because like you don't realize like the amount of like times that your ultimate actually like pops off because of that same reason that it misses. Like shredding two people as an example, or free an entire team. That is something that might be lost if they change how that works. So although the Twitch ultimate feels really bad when it doesn't work, when it does, you don't really think about it. But maybe increasing the projectile speed or like having some kind of like upside when you miss. Like say you slow them by like 5% stacking up every time you miss or something. Just something very small. Could be nice. I don't think I like the idea of like crit scaling on his E. I don't think that's necessary. I don't really like the idea of E either, to be honest. Like in being like a team fighting tool as ADC. Where you like should rely on your E to kill someone, given how clunky and slow it is. If it was like an instant proc, then it was fine. Then I would be completely fine with having crit scaling, but if it's going to be as it is, I don't think it's going to be a very big thing. And I would not like to see that direction of Twitch. But okay. We've been talking for a bit now. Now he's 7-1. There's nothing really I want to point out here as being like extremely special though. Other than how he like managed to get back into the game. But whether or not that can be entirely credited to him, I'm not sure. Rakan definitely played very well in the early game, like playing around him. So she deserves a lot of credit too. Or he deserves a lot of credit. But he's definitely been at the right times at the right moments, right? That is something to not be understated of an importance to be doing. It's very important to be at the right time at the right place. That at the right place at the right time as Twitch jungle. It is very, very beneficial. And that's something he has done very well this game. But I think there are like generally two things you need to be good at on Twitch. You need to like understand or have a way of like getting a lead or like maintaining even, and then you also need to understand how to not throw your lead completely as Twitch jungle. Because that is something I think is very easy to do. Like you can get a big lead on Twitch, but then you'll like run into like at least something, you'll die instantly. And then you'll just do that repeatedly for like 5 more times, right? So knowing how to maintain your lead on Twitch is an art, I think. And then how to like get a lead. But other than that, in like the grand scale of things, if you have like a decent team or you're doing well, then unless they have like some very obnoxious champions like Mordekaiser or I want to say Wukong, but he's not doing that great this game. Then I think like you have room to win the game. Like obviously Cassidin is a big threat here. I've said that before. But like, especially like last season, I would say like if I got like 2 or 3 kills early game, then the game was won. But now I feel like it's a bit harder again. Because it's not as impactful. It's you're a bit slower clearing jungle now in comparison to before. Yeah, I think. So I feel like it's not the same anymore. It has to be like a new way of doing it now. And if you're curious why I'm not really like thinking too much about this game now, it's the reason why we're doing 2 games. Because I want to do this one and then use the other one as like a comparison tool, right? And then see what this like, what's the same, what's not. So I kind of want to compare this game to the next game and then see what differentiates and what is the same. And like where the consistencies lie in its success and where they're not, right? He had some unfortunate moments this early game, but he definitely go back into the game. So what remains to see is if you'll be doing the same thing next game. I don't know. And there are some small things I want to touch upon here. Like before when he went to bot lane, when he was going for the red buff, he left it and Sarah took it. Like I would have took the red, but he ran straight for to help the person in his team. I wouldn't have done that. And that can actually make a huge difference, I think, at times. Like if arriving there earlier, so like what I said by him being there in time every single time, or like being there most of the time on time, you know, the right place at the right time is a big factor in success, I think. But I tend to not care, because if someone dies, I feel like it's their fault, you know, like they shouldn't have been there or something. So like giving up my farm for like the chance of like saving them for their misplay, it's like a risk in its own, I think. So there are positives and like downsides and upsides to both, I think. Because if he would have saved him, it would have been great. If he didn't, then he lost farm, right? So I think there's like keys to both, or benefits to both. So like in terms of like being selfish, then taking the farm and choosing the farm every single time is worth it, I think, or better. because you're just guaranteed to like actually benefit. Whereas the saving or leaving your camps for that small amount of time is like more of a risk. Another thing I find really annoying in Twitch Jungle is that it's really hard to close games. Like, if you had like someone else like similar caliber of stats, like, say Wukong is an example. If Wukong was 12-1-7 by now, the game would have been ended. So I feel like you have to be really good at macro if you can play Twitch. I think Twitch is like probably like one of the more macro-oriented champions in comparison to others, because you can't really force that much. You have to just kind of like play the game out and win like the team fights like every single time. You can't take any shortcuts. You just have to be like really concise in how you play. So like one misstep in like the entire game can lead to like disaster. So like as much as people like to shit on Twitch, I think it's actually like one of the more macro-oriented champions. And when I think about that, it actually kind of makes sense. Because the thing I think about Rat is that his game knowledge is really, really high. Like, he has a big understanding of where people are on the map. He reads the game very well. And I think that's some of his strengths. So the fact that he used to be like is a very successful Twitch player can actually be credited to that. Other than the space gliding and all the cool moments, right? Like, obviously that's cool, but in the big picture, big picture, I think Twitch is actually a very, very high macro-oriented champion. Obviously, you have like other like macro things like split pushing and those things, and that's not something Twitch has cared too much about. But like team fighting, the objective setup, etc., is very important. Okay. Because I thought about this before, like when I lose sometimes, I lose like 15 minutes. But if I have the same lead on Twitch, it's always like I get the soul point and take 2 barons and then we can end the game. Like you always have to like play the game out on Twitch Jungle. Or Twitch, I think. If you are the one like soul carry, you have to play the game out. There are no cheat codes. Like just running in, engaging on everyone, and then just like fisting the fight and ending. Except like a Hecarim Yumi or something, right? Maybe a bad example now because Yumi, Hecarim isn't that strong anymore for some reason. I remember last time I played he was really strong, but now he's not that strong anymore. I'm not entirely sure what happened, but just based on win rate. I've seen that Hecarim has fallen a bit in comparison to before. But okay. I think they'll be able to end the game here. And that'll make a wrap to the first game. And then we're going to do the second one now. And then we're going to compare everything. Obviously, it's not going to have the same bad start. But now we're going to be able to see like the actual things to happen. What things have, like, what's in common with this game here from the last game. And this is where it gets really spicy. And this is also why I say that I think if you have coaching, you need to have more than one game. Regardless of how that game goes. You need to have more sessions because you need to find the habits and the patterns that you have. So yeah, let's hop right into game number 2. Boom. All right, game 2. Let's fucking go, man. So this game will be the one where we'll actually learn the most because now we have a general idea of what he's doing or what he did last game, and then we'll be able to compare that with this game, and then we draw our conclusions as to what he does for his success. At a very base level, okay? This game, he took the blue one, the blue smite, the one that gives you movement speed in the bushes, not the red one which he did last game. And as I said in the first game, I think the blue one is better. So why I took the red one last game, I'm not entirely sure, but there are probably some reasons to it. I mean, maybe the damage was needed, or just trying stuff as everyone does in preseason. I don't think there's too much reason to put too much thought into that. And again, I'll put the runes and everything in the video right now. Boom. Right. So yeah. I mentioned last game wanting to stack, getting some control. Obviously, when you have a Nautilus something, people will be tempted to do invades. I don't generally like to do that, but it can be worth doing as well. However, I don't generally like to do that. And this time it's against the Mordekaiser, which I mentioned is very hard to deal with. Also against an Assassin Jungler, which is also a bit hard to deal with, especially in the early game. Said can be a big threat to you. And then Vega is okay. Kai'Sa is very annoying for Twitch. I think she's a big counter. And then Shaco's support, which I don't think is too much of a problem. Set ended up being a bit of a loser here. No leashing at all. Kind of cringe, not gonna lie about that. That is not what we like to see. Hex that I assume for some HP back, although I don't think it's too big, but anything matters in... Everything matters in every game, so whatever you can do to get a slight lead or edge can always be a good thing. Again, goes for the straight opposite side gank. I'm a big fan of this, although based on the lane split here, I don't think it's the best idea. However, it can work out. I'm not going to comment on that. But I would have preferred to see the lane in a more stable state or closer. But again, Shaco, no flash. Nautilus, very good. Perfect start here. Besides the no leash. That is obviously a bit unfortunate. Let's go back here, actually. I want to see, actually, from the enemy's perspective, if they saw him or not. Let's see here. So we see Twitch coming up here. Attacks him. And then he walks back like this. If he would have walked a bit more, he would have avoided what happened there. Also, I think it'd be more interesting to just add the red side so we can see what he sees, and that gives us some more depth as to what is going on in the game from his point of view. As I can feel a bit biased when I see everything. Maybe I should have done it for the last game too, but it is what it is. Very solid start here though. Nothing else to say about that. I really like this a lot. The re-gank into bot lane was very nice. I think it was a mistake from the enemy team, but at the same time he capitalized on it, so there's nothing to say there about that. So like last game, we kind of saw the same thing here, right? Just from a different perspective. He was very, very far behind. Didn't manage to do this, but he still tried to do this until he managed to pull it off. And then he went back to farming. So I assume that's what we're going to see now. Because basically the first 5-6 minutes of the last game has been compromised or like compressed into this small section here because of how successful he is. Or was. But since everyone's bot lane, obviously he should path there. But I think he had the idea of just farming now. Right. This is also very free. And something that's very nice against someone like Shaco with Twitch is that when you put poison on him, you will actually get to see where he is or was. When your poison ticks. Still hasn't swapped to red. I'm not sure if he does. We can pay attention to that now. I've touched upon that before too. Red versus yellow. I think they both have their upsides and downsides. I do like the red one just because I don't like the enemy having vision in my jungle. I'm not necessarily using it to gank. It's more just for preventing the enemy from being able to see where I am in my own jungle and then potentially killing me. He's still hovering though. Like you can tell that he wants to gank still. But at this point here, I would assume that the enemy is more wary of him being bot lane. Will not actually step up. Which is obviously the right thing to do. You shouldn't get this confused though. Even though he did the gank early game here, and last game he tried to gank for a long time until he actually got some success. That doesn't mean that you need to, or you shouldn't tunnel vision into the idea of just perma-ganking until you actually get a kill. At some point you have to just like give up the idea of being able to get a kill if you're not getting any. And then just farm and accept the fact that you're going to be behind. I personally think he hovered too much there. I would have just gone to farming. So you can tell that he likes the fact, like, he likes to get ganks, like, in short kills, right? Like, he's hovering for a very long time now. Trying to get something. Meanwhile, Zed is farming, he's now on 1 level up. And Twitch is about 25-30% into level 5. So Zed has a magnificent lead. And even now goes to the gank. I don't think there's anything bad with this, though. Just get that clear. I probably wouldn't have gone for that. But I would have gone for the jungle. Maybe that's why I'm not 500 LP master. Yeah, there's a very repetitive pattern here, right? Like in terms of ganking early game. Not putting too much pressure or emphasis on the idea of farming and more just getting ganks off and getting some gold that way. So I would be interested to find some of a game now where he doesn't have this kind of success. Because I'm curious how long he will choose to hover this, like, stay on this idea of, like, trying to get kills off. And how fast he will actually, like, concede the idea of farming or farming kills and just actually go to farming cams instead. Because obviously the games I've selected now has been very successful games because it's nice to see something in the extreme as opposed to the standard ones. So this gives you like an idea of like what to do if you have a lead, like how to play, like what you can give up, what you cannot give up, etc. But in the games where he's really far behind or he's not able to get these kind of situations there, then I'm curious as to what he does, right? Because this is only one aspect of Twitch jungle. Like you'll have a lot of these games and then you have a lot of the other ones. So like knowing what to do in both situations is obviously going to be very beneficial. But it's much more motivational and fun to watch someone just pop off though. Look, right. But yeah, you can see Zed has got, what, double CS. But in goal comparison, they're actually quite equal. So you can see how much more effort Twitch has put into this game here, right? Like he's got 7 kill participations. He's been on the map like literally everywhere besides top lane. And Zed has been very unsuccessful, died 3 times, but just farmed. And regardless of that, he's only roughly 700 gold above him, which is equivalent to 2 kills. And that to me is kind of crazy. Especially when you look at the fact that Twitch has got 500 gold shutdown, which does not equate to the minor goal differential that is on Twitch and Zed here. Like again, roughly 800 gold lead should not equate to a 500 gold shutdown. So if Zed kills Twitch now, they're even. That's kind of funny. Even though Twitch has put so much more effort into this game, as opposed to the Zed. All it would take for Zed is kill him once, and they will be basically even. And from an assassin's point of view, against an ADC, that is more than what you need to be successful against an ADC, right? Like, even Zed right now could probably kill Twitch. I mean, I would probably like to see, like, one item complete, like Ravenous or Blade or Prowlers, and then, like, I don't see Twitch living at all. Unless Zed, like, just falls apart and breaks his ankles or something. So you can see how important it is to, like, play cautious and not, like, it's so easy to, like, lose your lead. Because your lead isn't actually, like, that big. Again, roughly 800 gold. And now it's 1k, actually. And all it takes for him to lose his lead is die once. And then that lead is gone. So I think that really shows, like, how important it is to know how to not fall behind when you have a lead on Twitch. Because it's not hard at all to just lose your lead completely and just fall into this spiral of misery. It obviously has a very strong bot side here. I could even see myself, like, hovering or shadowing bot lane by now. As they're doing this play here. Which is what he's doing. That's something Twitch is really good at. If you have, like, someone fed, you can just shadow them. You just linger in the shadows and then you just wait in stealth or alternatively in a bush somewhere. And then when the enemy comes, then you pop up out of the shadow and you just kill them all. Like so. And something I said last game is that he seems to be in the right place at the right time. And again, you can see that. And again, you can see why Kai'Sa is such a good counter to Twitch. So, yeah. And now the gold lead between Zed and Twitch has become smaller. It's now roughly around 600 gold, right? And every time you die, even if you have a huge lead, by the time you respawn during like 30 seconds, the enemy would have accumulated somewhere around like 200 to 400 gold by farming. Especially if they're a jungler and they have all their camps up. Or if he takes your camps, right? So, even though you're doing great, you also have to like think about the fact that if you can like farm or something, then by the time you're dead, the farm you could have got would have equated to somewhere around like 300-400 gold. So if you die twice, that's roughly like 600-700 gold you lose. And the enemy gains, so you lose 600 gold, they gain 600 gold. That is only 600 gold difference, but combined that adds up to 1200. Right? So you technically fall behind by dying twice in this sense. 1200 gold. Just kind of a different aspect up. Let's look now. Zed died. He has 6.5. Twitch has 7.6. 7.7 now. He's gained 100 gold. Now it's going to be up to 7.85 probably. Yeah, so he gained almost like 500 gold in the time that Seth died. So that's a 1k difference, basically. Because Seth would have gained the same amount, roughly. We can say like 800 gold difference. I don't think he will die here. Now we can look again. 6.7 to 8.2. Right. $200 gold right there. But this is reverse, right? But Seth is a lot better at farming, especially in the early game. Like now, I would say dying isn't as crucial as it is early game. Because your clear speed is actually quite good or decent now. But if you were to die early game, this would be way more... Way more... how do you say it? Would have been way worse, basically. I think Ice actually kills him here. Oh, she missed? Yeah. Did she hit the W? If Kai'Sa gets like one more item, I think it's just GG. In the sense of like 1v1. Kai'Sa is like so obnoxious because you have to like play around her. Like if she hits you with the W, she can just go in and kill you. And there's nothing you can do. But that's if she catches you alone though, right? Boom, boom, boom. Outside of the early game though, I don't think there's too much to learn. Because like, this is like an entirely different aspect again. That's way harder to like understand properly. Whereas the early game can be a lot easier to replicate. How to get the lead, right? Like you gank low in the start. Or you potentially farm. Knowing when to stop farming, when to stop ganking, etc. That's like a lot easier to replicate. Like this has a lot harder to do. But it is beautiful to watch. How he plays his team fights, how he lingers behind. Doesn't go in, sits behind Nautilus here. Takes the different path so he doesn't get caught. Right, like Nautilus can take that path because he's tankier, but the way he just chooses to go that way there as opposed to the other one is something to appreciate. Fortunate boxer actually. Something to note, if you're stealth, you don't actually get you're not able to proc the boxes. So when you appear and if you're standing in a box, then you will get feared. But you can walk through the box if you are in camo. I didn't actually know that for the longest time before. So yeah. All in all, to have this kind of success, all I think you need to do is just play the early game correctly. not commit too much into each side of the game, meaning farming or ganking, and then also practicing your macro, understanding on team fights, where to stand, where to path, where to go, when you can take things, where to be, and that will equate to into success. But you can also see why it is so hard for Twitch to be a good jungler this season, because you're so bad at farming early game. And you see like that 30-second window where you're dead, how far behind you can become. And again, with Twitch being such a bad farmer early game, that is amplified in comparison to other champions again. So it's just much more punishing to play Twitch jungler as opposed to anyone else. So if you are planning on playing this, you really do need to practice, you need to play a lot, and you need to just commit and pray to God, okay? So you'll have a good mentor and be able to persevere. And just take the pain that you will have to endure for the time being until you're able to space cloud on them. Like so. But yeah, there's a lot of small things you could go into, right? Like the pathing I talked about, but again, I think this is just nice to watch. I don't think there's too much commentary needed. It's just nice, you know? Who doesn't like seeing the rat a little bit bad, popping off, killing people? And he's back. Boom. Got a pink ward as well. Nice, man. As for the build, I'm not sure. I mean, I don't think it's too bad with Hurricane. Like, no one has any armor. And he gives Steeds an AT. I don't think it's too bad. I mean, he's so far ahead. But, like, someone like Collector could be very good here. But then again, the problem becomes Mordekaiser, right, with Tab Iron, 4 mil. So then maybe you would want LDR for him. It's like, even though he's 3-9, not buying LDR against Mord can actually be a downfall. So in that sense, I would always opt for the safer option, which would be to just ensure that you can actually deal with Mordekaiser. Because LDR and Collector against the squishies is not going to make too much of a difference. And you're so fed anyway, so it doesn't really matter what you build in that sense against the squishies, because you will kill them regardless. So I assume we're going to see an LDR here, and not actually a Collector. How much HP do they have? Yeah, we're seeing LDR. $2.1. $2.5. Oh, because he has. Yeah. Not actually that big of a difference. Huh. Even though he has 4 mil and this, which gives 600 HP. Ah, he does have 2 levels on him though. That's fair enough. Took me a while to realize that. And another thing to appreciate is just the patience here. I think a lot of people would have just opened the second the Nautilus got engaged on there. But the fact that he just continued walking is really nice. He doesn't have a splash either, which is probably something he's aware of. Otherwise, I could have imagined him maybe actually going in. But since he doesn't have the flash, he has to opt into being a bit more defensive. And there's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, he definitely does have some bad games too, though. If you guys want me to watch one of those and then actually like go into detail and just make like a long video about one, as opposed to like spectating, appreciating, and just talking a bit and rambling the rest, then let me know in the comment section below as well. As well as tell me how your Christmas was, how you're doing, and everything else. Thank you. So 15. How much gold does he have? He needs 100 to finish LDR. Now the question is, will he go for the fight, or will he farm for his LDR and then go for it? Not using his W. Good thing he's not posting for the rate my glide. I'm kidding. I do think W could have been nice there though. Just because it's just free, you know? Like, why not? Because I really like the idea of playing the game properly, even though you don't have to. Like, yeah, you have a lead, but like, why not just practice the good things, you know? Just practice the fundamentals. And don't take anything for granted just because you can. Because the one time it will matter, you're not going to do it for some reason. Like we saw the last game, right, when he got invaded. Maybe the reason he didn't do anything okay is because he hasn't been invaded for a while. And then he just stops doing it. Taking it for granted. And that's when it's going to come and fucking bite you in the butt. Yes, blue trinket available. I would like to see used hair something. Just in this bush. I'm not sure if we can see everyone. It's not as easily accessible to me as to him. Because if you're on the enemy, or you're actually in the game, you can just press tab and then you can see if you can see everyone or not. But I definitely would like to see the blue used hair. Also. But all in all, really good game. You can nitpick on everyone. Everyone doesn't do everything great. I can go on about myself all day long. And again, I'm not 5 LP master, so who am I? You know? Who the fuck am I? Speak. How dare I open my mouth? Gonna die? KDA, man. But yeah, that is it. So again, as you can see, it's easy to fall behind. Important to find a way to get success early game, be it through ganking or farming, even though all we saw here was ganking. It's definitely a good option, but there will be times where you don't actually have that opportunity, as he did here. But all in all, 2 good games and definitely a lot to look at and see. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. I'm not very happy with this, but I hope you guys are. I think I did a terrible job, but I tried my best. And that's all that matters, I think. Until next time. It's been a while since I've done one of these, so maybe next time I'll do better. I think the second one here was better than the first one, but all in all, it's just about watching the game and trying to get some understanding of what is going on. And this understanding we got is that he's very cautious with this movement in general. Very good at finding opportunities to gank and being at the right place at the right time, which is something everyone needs to learn on Twitch, I think, if you're going to be successful to this degree. So yeah, take care. I hope you guys have a good one. And yeah, peace out.